and submodules or components of operating systems or modules of operating systems, and classification of programming languages, difference between high level, low level programming languages. Then what is the compiler, assembler, interpreter, and their differences. So in this session, let's speak about Python. Introduction to Python. See, Python is a general purpose high level programming language. Okay, it was initially designed by Guido van Rossum in 1991. After that, it was being developed by Python Software Foundation. Okay, see, this guy, he was working for in his career to develop a language called ABC. Okay, he has found some issues or flaws in that ABC language after developing. Then he has taken few features from ABC language plus modulo 3, and then adding these two features from both the languages, he has developed Python in 1991. Clear? I don't want to explain too much about Python. I mean, how it has developed and all, because you can study. Let us concentrate more on whatever is useful. Okay. So in 1991, he has developed it. I mean, he has come to the market. Okay, and he named it as a Python just by his invention. He wants to give some unique name. So he was in favor. I mean, he was inspired from a name, popular BBC TV show, Monty Python's, Flying Circus. That's a TV show. So he was a big fan of that. Then he took Python from that name and he has named it. Clear? So in this, what you have to understand is like Python has been developed from two languages. I mean, it has been developed, or they have taken features from two languages. One is ABC language, another one is modulo 3. Clear? Any doubts? Okay. Now, so one more important thing. Whoever is using Python, like which companies are using Python? Google uses Python. Google uses Python. Dropbox uses Python. Quora, right? It is developed in Python only. Okay. Yahoo uses Python. Yahoo was using Python. Anyway, now Yahoo is not there. Likewise, Netflix uses Python. Netflix uses Python. I think a few more companies. Yes. So these are the companies that they use Python. Pinterest also uses Python. Instagram uses Python. You got it right? PayPal uses Python. Spotify uses Python. See, these are the companies like whoever is using Python based applications. Clear? Now, where this Python can be used? Okay. First thing is it can be used for web development purpose. It can be used for web development purpose. Okay. It supports frameworks. It supports frameworks. See, what exactly is a framework? Can anybody tell me what is a framework? A framework you can define as a platform for developing software applications. For example, I want to develop web application. If I have an existing framework, okay, I can make use of methods or whatever, functions, methods, or whatever. With the existing framework, I can just insert it and then I can just use them. That's nothing but the framework. So skeleton of a program. Somebody, you can also, I mean, it's not a skeleton of a program. A framework is like, it's a kind of library, group of libraries, or bunch of libraries. You can say it's a framework. Okay, Python supports many frameworks. One of the popular framework for web development is Django. Some people also pronounce it as Django. Few pronounce it as Django. Clear? So there is a popular framework in Python which can be inserted or which can be used to develop web applications. Okay, so Python is vastly used for web development. That is one. Second one is, since Python has a robust library for scientific calculations. You got it? Scientific calculations. So it supports, lot of data. You can play with that data, and it also supports scientific calculations. It has a very good library which will, support scientific calculations, and you can even play with the data. So that's the reason it can be used for AI. It's nothing but machine learning or data science, data analytics. So you can use Python for data science, machine learning, data analytics, or broadly you can say artificial intelligence. Clear? Any doubts? This too?
No, sir.
Yes. Next, it can also be used for test automation. See, what is test automation? Let's say that you want to test some application. You want to test Gmail application, whether Gmail application or Gmail will work or allow, or it will behave properly when you use username password correct. When you give valid username and password, it should allow you to log in. That is first thing. When you give wrong username and wrong password, please show the presentation. I don't have any presentation for this. I'm just explaining now. Once when we get into the Python compilation and all, we will definitely show that. Okay, yeah. So what I was so testing. So when you give valid username and password, your Gmail should allow you to log in. When you give invalid username or and password, okay, it should not allow you to log in. So these are some of the scenarios. Now, user can also test it manually, or user can automate it, using some tools, testing tools. One of the popular testing tool is Selenium. So you can use Selenium with Python and do test automation. Any doubts? Till now, any questions? Okay. So now coming to this, you can also use Python for desktop application development or Windows based application development. What is Windows based applications and what are web based applications? Windows based application is something like a standalone application. You got it right. Your calculator is a Windows based application. Your web application is something you open in your browser. It's nothing but web application. Your google.com is a web application. Your calendar or your calculator on your Windows machine is a Windows application. Whatever is standalone application, we call it as a Windows application. Whatever is opened in the web browser, we call it a web application. Now, as I said earlier, Django can be used, Python Django can be used to develop web applications. Similarly, Python/tk can be used to develop Windows applications like calculator, these kind of applications. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So even Python can be used for web scraping. What is web scraping? Any idea? Anybody can tell me what is web scraping? Someone is saying, but I don't, I cannot hear. So web scraping or web harvesting, web data extraction is a data scraping used to extract data from the websites. Okay. I am just giving a project to you guys. I want some data set. Okay. I want some data set, all the shops in Bangalore. What will you do? Either you go to Google and search location wise, or Google Maps, you go and search location wise all the shopkeepers of shops, and you copy it and paste it in the Excel file, right? So this can be automated. You can write a script in Python which will hit whatever shopkeepers, or through Google Maps or Yahoo Maps or Bingo, whatever it is, Bing Maps or whatever it is, and it will get the data and it will paste it in the Excel file. If you run that script, once the script is executed, you see bunch of data set in the Excel file. Means collecting data from web is nothing but web scraping. Clear?
Yes.
Next, it can also be used for DevOps. You know what is DevOps? Can anybody tell me what is DevOps? Okay. So DevOps is a set of practices that combines software development and IT operations. Okay. You know what is software development? What is IT operation? So what are IT operations? Let's say that we have a company, and in my company there are 1 lakh employees are working. Now I want to install a software, some software in each and every laptop or desktop that I have given it to my employees. Is it possible to install software manually? If I want to install software manually, how much time it will take? I have to go to every desk, or I have to take remotely the screen share or whatever it is, and then I have to start installing, right? That is a tedious task. So these IT operation based tasks, practices, we have some tools where you can configure and you can run as a job, so that by that time it triggers, it will directly connect to the system and it will install that software. These practices we falls under DevOps. Clear? Such kind of practices. Or let's say that I want to install software. See, how many people hit Google? Number of people hit Google, right? So how much infrastructure it should have? Too much of infrastructure, like web servers, app servers, database as running on the clusters, all these things, right? So to support this many users, it should have so many, maybe lakhs of servers. Let's say that I am going to deploy one version of Google application. I have to deploy it in 1 lakh servers. Is it possible, like, manually? How much time will it take to deploy manually? Hell lot of time. So we have a practice, automation practice, where you can use some tools or you can write script which will connect to those servers and install the latest version. These set of practices fall under DevOps, means development operations. Clear? Any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. I will ask a simple question. So what is the framework used to develop web applications in Django? Can someone tell me? I repeated, right?
Py-
What is the framework name that is used to develop web applications using Python? Python framework,
Django.
not Django, Django. Okay, it's Django. No. Now we will just take up, the features of Python. Okay, before going to the features of Python, I want to explain Python is a general purpose programming language. Why did I say it's a general purpose programming language? See, there are certain programming language which are specific to domain. Let's take C language. Mostly, not 100%, mostly C with inline assembly language is used to develop system programming. What is system programming? Whichever interacts with firmware. What is firmware? Look here. One second. Where is share screen option? Yeah. Okay. Let's say that how many of you know embedded systems? See, this is your something like what I can say. IoT device. How many of you know IoT device? See, you have hardware here, right? You have hardware here. In this board or in this device, people write program in C in inline assembly, and it will compile. They will compile and they will place it here. They will place the program here. Clear? So this is nothing but firmware. Whenever you place your program in a device into the ROM, you call it as a firmware. Okay, so most of the C programs are used to develop such kind of system programming. System programming is a low-level programming which will interact with the hardware. They don't just write and burn there. They will compile it and then they will burn it. So it will be easy for the system to understand that. See, even you can write it in Java and you can make it, but there are some limitations for that. That is the reason people make use of C program. Okay, so this I call it as a domain specific. Why it is domain specific? Mostly C is used to develop system program, whereas Python is not like that. It's a general purpose programming language, means it can be used anywhere. You can use this in IoT, you can use this in web development, you can use this in testing, you can use any application development, anything. So that is the reason it is not domain specific. I don't say that if you use Python, your system program is super, nothing like that. You can use this across many domains. That's why we call it as a general purpose programming language. Okay. Now we will discuss about features of Python. See, Python is easy to learn, high level general purpose language. See, it will be like English language only. When you write some program in Python, if you have a glance at it, right, you can easily understand. Okay, input means you are trying to input something. Print means you are trying to print something. List means you are going to take as a list. What will you do in the groceries when you want groceries? You'll make a list, right? Like that, it says list. List means you are storing some variables, bunch of variables. Likewise, it's a very understanding language. It's very simple and user understandable. So because of which we call it as an easy to learn and use. Python is easy to learn and use because it's in very simple English language, close to very simple English language. Next, you can use Python to write complex code in very few lines of code. See, if you want to write a program in C, okay, what you have to do? What you have to do? You have to first say void main. Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, I have forgotten to check this laptop anyway. Okay, next class I'll try to make it. Okay, see, what if you want to write a program in C, first you have to write include stdio.h. Next, void main. Next, open braces, print hello Sairam, and close braces. When you compile it and run, you will get hello Sairam, right? But in Python, it is not like that. Just look here. I went to Python shell, okay, or Python interpret, we call it. Now print. That's it. Nothing, no include I would iterate, void main, nothing. Just a print Sairam, it will print. Or you can take any, Python this thing.
Number again,
Button. Anybody has any question? Just a second. I am just trying to get the Python folder. Python. Let me create a folder. Just a second.
Oh, yes, I
Just I will share the screen. See now, if you look here, sharing the screen. If you look here, I created a file, Python file. If you look in this, I mean, if you check this file, what is there? Open with it, notepad plus plus. Nothing, print Sairam, that's it. Okay, now close it. Go to this. Okay, now if you look, you have first.py, first.py, see Sairam. Nothing I have done. I have just written one line. That's it. It was just printing the output. Okay, nothing. It's just I just wrote one line and executed. Means why I am saying all these things. Why I showed you. You can write a complex application in few lines. That is the main advantage of Python. See this. Our Gudo, right? He has kept that in mind and then he has developed it. The main concept of his this thing is like readability and advanced development productivity. Develop the application in a fast manner. How will you develop the application in a fast manner? When you write small code, that's it, right? So that is his main motive in developing this Python. Clear? Clear? Easy to learn and expressive language means you can use very few lines to develop. Now, Python is compiled and interpreted language. This point we will take in next session, because when I am explaining about the compilation process, you will understand very, very clearly. In detail, I will explain. Okay. Now, cross-platform language means once you develop the Python application, you can run across any platforms, Windows, Linux, Mac, anywhere. Clear? It is an open source programming language. Open source. See, Python has a open source community, Python Software Foundation. Over the globe, many people will contribute to that website. That is the reason it has thousands of libraries, free libraries. You can download and you can use it. If you want to solve some mathematical problem, you have a library. If you want to do some, web application testing, you have a library. If you want to do some other task, you have a library, because there are many people contributing for that website. It's an open source. Open source means no need to buy. It's free of cost. It's available for free. Clear? That is the reason it has large standard library. Clear? Any doubts still here? Next, it supports object-oriented programming as well as procedure-oriented programming. What is object-oriented and procedure-oriented? In last session, I explained object-oriented is developed based on the class and object concept. Procedure-oriented is developed based on the functions, subroutines, procedures. Any doubts? I explained very clearly. You can follow my previous session. One supports top-bottom approach, other supports bottom-top approach. All that I think I explained. Okay. Now, Python is dynamically typed language. What do you mean by dynamically typed? See, it is dynamically typed because you no need to declare int, float, complex or whatever it is. You just assign a value. Let's say that I have assigned let's say that I have assigned something like this. You just assign I is equal to 10. It will understand, okay, this fellow has initiated with integer value. Now I is equal to 10.40. It will understand, okay, this fellow has assigned with float value. Means it is dynamically typed. You no need to predefine it as an int, float and all. It will understand by itself. Clear? See, you are not responding. So I don't know whether you are getting or not. Clear, right?
Yes, sir.
So why it is platform independent? When you write the code in Python, when you develop the code in Python, and when you try to compile it, right, it will be converting into the, it will compile it to the object code. This object code you can run on PVM, Python virtual machine. So Python virtual machine will have an interpreter, built-in interpreter. So it will convert this object code into mission readable code or mission code. I explained what is mission code in the previous session. Okay. Again, in depth, I will explain this concept. I just want to give brief on why it is platform independent. Clear? It is portable, means it can be, it is portable across many platforms. Means it will give the same results when you run against Mac or when you run against Linux or when you run against Windows. Anywhere, it gives the same results. Now, it is extensible. See, when do you say it's an extensible? Piece of code written in C and C++ can be integrated to Python. Means you can integrate C code or C++ code into Python and you can run it. That's the reason we call it as an extensible. Okay. There is something called Jython. Okay, where you can integrate Java code into Python program and run on JVM, Java Virtual Machine. Similarly, you have .NET code integrating to the Python and run it on CLR, language runtime. You know what is JVM, right? To run a Java program, you need JVM. Similarly, to run a .NET applications, you need CLR. So you can integrate your .NET or Java with Python program and run on the JVM or CLR. That is the reason we call it as an extensible. Till here, anybody has any question?
No.
Clear, right?
Yeah.
Embeddable means we can insert a Python program into C or C++. See, extensible is different from embeddable. Extensible means you are integrating C++ code into Python. But here you are inserting Python code into C++. Reverse. You got it? So you can develop several applications in Python which can be integrated into programming languages like C and C++. So you can write piece of Python code in between your C, C++, PHP, Java and .NET and you can run it. Clear? So we can call Python as a scripting language as well. Okay. And as I said, it has huge libraries. Since it's an open source, over the globe, people contribute to it. And it has database connectivity. Means you have libraries which is used to connect to the databases like Oracle, MySQL, Postgres, all that. Clear? These are some of the features of Python. Any doubts?
No, sir.
Everybody is clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we'll stop here. In next session, we will continue with execution of first Python program and how many stages are there to compile and run the program. In detail, we will go. Okay. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thank you. See, try to be by 5:30. Okay. Try to be try to present to them in 5:30 sharply. Okay. Yeah. Take care. Bye.
जी होगा इधर